Good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everyone doing today? I'm feeling a little eepy. Thank you for everyone who's checking in. And thank you, Echo, for getting first. Brookie for getting second. And thank you, Carmia, for getting third. And good morning. Nap time and Lily. Atlas and Blue Valley Lilies and Ocean. Good night, nap time, sleep well. Good morning, everybody. Now, how should we start today? What are we thinking? Oh, wow. My phone is vibrating a lot. Oh, what art are you doing? Not Blue Valley. Lovely, lovely Lily. You should sleep more. Why would you not sleep more? Sleep more. No, we do. We have over 2,000 followers. They cancel. Why would they cancel all classes? That's so weird. But everybody, we've hit 2,000. I think there was also a planned art unlock that Vonnie was going to work on for this, but I don't remember what it was. But yeah, so we're going to be doing our classics today. I do think it's funny that we're having bots try to be a little bit more body today. No, I should have done that. Maybe next year I'll do it. Is Drawtober different than Inktober? Good morning, Silverbergs. Welcome. 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 Let's see. Thank you for the hydrate. It is a sad day today. Today I am drinking the last of my mango juice. So after today I'll have no more mango juice. Which is a sad day indeed. My favorite kind of juice is tamarind juice. Barring any weird choices like the delicious syrup in mandarin oranges, canned mandarin oranges. Have you ever had cream of wheat? Cream of wheat is delicious. When I was younger, my mother used to serve cream of wheat with a can of mandarin oranges. And so you'd pour the juice from the mandarin oranges into the cream of wheat and add some of the little oranges themselves. Mix them up. You'd have a delicious, delicious, delicious breakfast. It was one of my favorites. I've not had cream of wheat for ages. Oh, well, thank you. Good morning, Metalium. This voice can do a lot more than be soft and smooth, but it's the morning. So here's where it will sit. Now I'm going to do a little thing here so we don't get too excited. 1 second. And just to do a little test. I can't believe you're a late dwarf. How dare you? Oh, interesting. How many follows do we have right now? Carmia. 2K exactly. Well, I wonder if Carmia knows the number. Oof. We will be going below that today. I have an application I use that allows me to remove things like chat banned accounts. And so there are currently 11 chat banned accounts following me that I will probably be removing. Yeah. Alright. Hello, Vividly. How are you doing? People who have been banned here, because if you have a person that's been banned here and they had followed, they still do maintain the follow. 3, 2, 1. And back down we go. Thank you for the sniffer redeem. All right. You know, Karamia, it may be beneficial to actually beat the game once first. What do you think? Morning, Casey. As much as I enjoy the challenge, we'll see if we can get to beating the game once first. So I think our goal should be to find a village to live near there. We can continue on from that point. No, just playing some hardcore. Never beaten the game before. Black Widow, thank you so much for the sub. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Wow, Carmia. Wow. Tell me how you really feel. Sounds like someone might have gotten a little salty over time. I hope everybody was able to get some good sleep today. Or was able to go to sleep. Well, I'm sorry I've upset you. That does look like a tiny jungle. Enjoy your Lexies. I think this one's also going to let me test a few things that I can bring back into the challenges when we go later. Temple is cool. Am I crazy? Oh, it's the noise of the... I didn't realize there's atmosphere noise for the sand. Oh. Why is that becoming an asked and answered kind of thingy? Oh, wait, sorry, Lost Soul. I saw you here earlier. Been a little bit. How are you doing, Lost Soul? I hope you're doing well. Wonder what Oh, I need to focus a lot on some things today. We did get our day 100 TikTok out, so at least I'm good there. And apparently I've uploaded 69 videos onto YouTube. Somebody let me know yesterday, which I thought was funny. I know, right? I can't believe I was bonked today. But also thank you for the check-in headset user. Oh. Bing. True. True. Mm. I think what's fun with the challenge is that it made me use things that I normally wouldn't have used. You know? Using cocoa beans all the time because they allow me to get more fertilizer. Mm. Or trying to make a seaweed farm because I didn't have anything else to burn for fuel. I mean, we found a trial chamber. I don't think that would have changed much if it had been a normal world. Oh yeah. I'm gonna I'll do a little with the copper golems. And I most definitely am gonna make a bamboo farm. So I'll have a permanent fuel source to a, whatchamacallit? Auto smelter. I do miss that world. I do think it's funny that I'm still leaning towards stuff that's good for being underground. Good morning, Lee Shrimp. How are you doing today? Least favorite, probably the Savannah wood. It's too much of a color. But I really like bamboo. I like how all the stuff is like very like oriental themed. Have I seen mangrove? The wood itself? No, I don't think so. You really were upset with me. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen Pale Oak yet. Alright. Mm-hmm. That's very valid. Right. Mm-hmm. Temporarily. That's funny. See, all the biomes have unique things. I remember back in the day when there was a lot less biomes. Chat, when did you first play Minecraft? When was the first time you played Minecraft? Oh, good morning, Shay. How you doing? There's the lovely, lovely bunny. And thank you for the check-in. Lovely Punky. They first added sheep. Forget how little this game had originally. It's been so long. Well, this morning we are doing our ASMR stream. I appreciate you dropping in. If you like relaxed vibes, now is the best time to come in. If you like more energetic, chaotic vibes, that'll be in our evening stream. I always like to remind people, since the vibes are so different. I know you like both. Get you a man who can do both. Or Shay, you'd be good. Get you a new man. Crazy. Why get a new man when you can have two men? I have one, and you can have two. We have the punch book. Yay, punch book. I'm doing alright. How you doing, Onyx? Having our slow morning stream, as we always do. Maybe I should make that an automated message for the morning streams, so people learn about the other ones. Oh, what are you excited about? Do you have any fun plans? Mm. Yeah, schedule command, that's what I'll do. That one's smart, cut me. You know, I do appreciate your smartness. Very cool. Good morning, beaming. No worry about claustrophobia today. We're not going underground. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, we're not going underground more than normal. See, there's the sky. We're just waiting for it to become daytime. Is it evening for you? I forget people live in other parts of the world than I do. How dare you? Y'all should know that only my time zone is the right time zone. Mm-hmm. Correct your time zone immediately. Yeah. It's incorrectly based off of. Mm-hmm. Hello, bird. But how's your streams been going, beaming-eyed bunny? Should I just call you Bunny instead? But where's the fun in that? Beamy. I like Beamy. Beamy, that one's nice. Oh. Oh, my Bane. Lovely, lovely Beamy. Oh, what are you getting brainworms about, sweetie? Talk to me about it. I know, I'm sorry. I have difficulty remembering sometimes, but I promise I'll do better. Yummy, yummy fruit. I feel that. Are there certain goals you're not meeting? And if you'd ever like to talk about this off stream, I'm also available for that. Well, try differently. My view of it always is that if things are not being met, a change in approach is what's needed as best you can. I know. Would not be a bother, but if that is a kind way of saying, Gene, I'd rather not, then I understand that as well. Just know the offer is on the table. People think conversation takes a lot more effort out of me than it does, but it most definitely does not. I have time to talk. When it's about content, I don't open DMs for personal conversations. But if it's content creators seeking to make new things, that I'm always happy to talk about. I know. No, it looks like this has 0 things in it. What a boring ship. Oh, it's on its side. Wait a second. am not saying rather not talk about it. Fair enough. And if you would like to talk to it, you would like to talk about it, you can always feel free to add me on Discord. I do love talking about content creation and experimentation. Anyone can join the Discord if they had exclamation mark Discord, but this space, like the Discord, is an 18+ space with ID verification. Good morning, Popcats. How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you're having a lovely day. 1 second. That was weird. Got distracted there for a second. Alright. Alright, we're still looking for a town, but I have so many supplies to get started with. Get some good armor. I kind of miss the days that we were doing, monument. We would do trying to find a certain biome. But I imagine, God Mia, that was just as annoying, wasn't it? Because sometimes I'd die before I could find the biome. I always died all the time. Yeah. I'm not gonna risk it this time. I remember if we go near one of those, I think the drown starts spawning. Yeah, there they are. This time I have enough bones that we can make some dongs. And I should be able to get enough dongs. But as long as we survive the first hit of a scally, we'll be okay. What is that? A ship. Ship. Very different thing. I never realized that. When there is a treasure map in there, there's often a quell. Isn't that unique? Good morning, Penguin. How you doing? I don't need anything else except the map right now. I'm doing all right. Having a slow morning. Waking up. Still hoping to find a village. I have so many supplies. 4:24 a.m. Thank you for stream checking. Honey Bunch, I just woke up. I don't go to sleep at this time. I do this every morning, Penguin. I wake up at 3:30 a.m. every morning to stream. And then at 5:30, I go to work. Do you not? You've been here in the morning. I do this every day. Weakness. Every morning I wake up before work. I stream for 2 hours. And then lodestone. I don't know what lodestones are. Let's find out. Oh, it points to that instead of your spawn point. That makes sense. Very cool. Good morning, Gibbets. Jibby. Giblin. It's like a goblin, but jibbied. Giblin. The Gibbler. Gibble location. Like echolocation. But jibbed. I guess I don't need moss right now. Never. I don't know what you're talking about. All raccoons are either gibbets or fun. It's true. It's true. Is this a different game? Wow. Huh. Exactly. Morning Gibberino whenever you see him, whenever you see Raccoon. Slightly sexist though, ain't it? Why are all magpies first male? Morning, Mr. Magpie. You don't know it might be the magpie wife? Do they? Did you know a magpie is a corvid? I love corvids. What are with all these gates? Why am I trying to be pulled into another? It's another one. Crazy style. Good morning, check-in. Why do you want me to find a happy? I do enjoy ravens and crows. They're my favorites. I think it's funny that Carmia really wants me to find a happy guest. Other corvids are great, but I like crows in general. Because you feel it seems like you seem really set on me finding a happy guest. Just like more so than anything else. Not today. Oh. Okay, I'll find one for you then. Just for you, though. This is only Carmia's. Alright, chat? No one else gets to claim this guest. In fact, we'll name the happy guest Carmia. Carmia. I've also yet to see sheep in this game. Which feels ridiculous to me. He's a witch. I'm sorry to tell you this, but he's a witch. Thank you for the follow, fandom lover. Odd thing to say, but also agreeable. He's an old man witch. You know what my favorite thing is? I think boy witches are cool. Or as I like to call them, bitch. Ruff. Vonia, how you doing? Kind of winning. You've walked in on Stranger Things, the TV show. Morning, and welcome in. Thank you for that, pets, Anya. Still have yet to find a town. Maybe they decided no towns this one. It's like, Gene, you smelly person. No town for you. Only desert, jungle, and plateaus. No other biomes shall ye have. All day, busy, only get few monies. I should be getting paid today, right? That's right, chat. You should be paying me today, right? Just kidding. I mean my actual money. Not from Twitch. Oh, it is the 17th, isn't it? Gibbets, how much is your attention worth in the black market? I'll be selling your attention today. Just kidding. I'm paying you an exposure. Stop exposing yourself. Good morning, fandom lover. Why does this look familiar? Why does it? Excuse me. No. No way. How? What kind of biome is that? What kind of biome is this? Alright, we're gonna see if I can get closer to the map real quick. Is it? Very cool. Did they change the swamp recently? is useless. Yeet. I guess it is mangrove. What's that? It's gone now. You said extreme hills. Oh, wow. What is mud? What a funny noise. Good morning, Lynx and Silver Vangrose. Also, Hardy har har, Kermia. I assume that's what mud was. What can I use it for? Sheep. You killed my sheep. Mm-hmm. 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 Finally. Come here, dog. Love you. Do not run from me, except my love. Oh. That's nice. Good dog. I am less sleepy this morning, yes. There we go. I love the bundle. The bundle was such a good idea. Jean-san. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Vanya, na 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 na. Vanya, na 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 na. It's like driving a car. The Vanya Mobile. Vanya, na 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 na. I suppose we can do this yet. Diving into my car, I'd have to appear. Hey, that bomb is shaped like a deer. DUI. Now how about you die and drive 100 miles an hour? There we go. Drive away. Oh, look at that. That's what we are looking for. Big, open plains. Wait, what's the satellite? I hear you. Good dogs. Oh no. My biscuit is too buttery. My lobster is too delicious. My dogs may not be the smartest, but they are my dogs. Dogs, you got dogs, dogs. Do not eat me. Santa Claus. I do not like this song. Santa Claus is coming to town. Do not come to my town. What is hitting me? What is that? What the heck? Maybe I should go get sleep. Chet, I may have become too cocky. Maybe time for me to find a place to rest. Oh, thank you for the lurks. Sleep well. I hope you sleep very, 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 very well. All right. Dogs, dogs. You're making this very, very hard for me. Well. Okay, you're very, very cute, but how am I supposed to block off this? Okay, fine. They try again. Thank you for the sniffer team. Okay. Now very. Good. A good amount of dogs. And we're also going to do this, because Karunia is going to be upset if I die again. Karunia will be like, Jean, are you insane? How do you die so often? You're so dumb. Won't you smell funny too? And then they will call me dog, and I will be like, woof woof. Yes, call me on her traditional German accent. It's so common that she says, she goes, a woof, a woof, a woof. Hello, it's me, Carmia. You're the best, Carmia. Don't let anybody ever tell you you're not the best, because they are liars and cheats and will try to steal from you. We have found a town, and it is in mountains, and this is cool. Look how big this town is. What the heck? Why are you here by yourself? Why are you out here by yourself? It's scary to be here. There's nobody here. Okay. What a pretty little town. What a pretty little town. So pretty. So town. Carmia knows they are one of the best. I hope they know that. Carmia, do you know that you are one of the best? Oh, why have you made me jealous today? That is so mean. You do not have to make me jealous, but you have. You've come to me on this, my day, and gone, Jean, would it not be funny if I made you jealous? And I was like, oh, but why would you? You had pizza. Why are you also making me jealous? I have had no food this morning. And I hunger. I would love some pizza. I hunger for the Tsar. Well, this town is cool, but has nothing for me to steal, so it's a little lame. It's not the greatest town. A little disappointing, to be fair, but that is okay. Vanya, a small nap would definitely be okay. If you'd like to take a little small nap, you should definitely do so. Do not sleep all day, though, because I know you're not going to be the happiest for sleeping all the day. And if you are sleeping to pass time, that is not good either. There you go. Take a nap. Nap time, nap time, nap time, nap time, nap time. So nap. So time. Oh, do not take a nap at 7 p.m. You're not going to sleep good. Do not do that. That is a bad idea. I'm the king of the swingers, the jungle VIP. I reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. I wanna be man, cub, and stroll right into town, and be just like the other men. I'm tired of monkeying around. Do I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you, talk like you, too. You see it's true. An ape like me can learn to be human too. No, don't try to kid me, man cub. I made a deal with you. What I desire is man's red flower to make my dreams come true. Give me the secret, man cub. Tell me what to do. What's up, homie? One second. I also like that I put it under a tree. What the dog doing? Num. Bucket. Boogie. Get eaten, chat. ASMR, but it's Gene eating you. Walks in. There's somebody sleeping in my bed. Looks in corner. Guess I'm not gonna watch this. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable. Rude AF. What the heck? We're not unreasonable. I mean, no one's gonna eat your eyes. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're at an impasse here. Maybe we can compromise. If you open up the door, come inside and eat your brains. There's a place in the dark where the animals roam. You can take off your skin in the cannibal glow. Juliet loves the beat and the lust it commands. Drop the dagger and lather the blood on your hands, Romeo. I've never been on a bender and it shows. So why don't you blow me a kiss before you go? Give me a shot to remember. And you can... I don't remember how the song goes. Kiss and I will surrender. The darkest lives are the tedious to lead. They say now, teenagers scare the living shit out of me. They couldn't care less as long as someone will bleed. So darken your clothes and strike a violent pose. Maybe they'll leave you alone, but not me. The boys and girls in the clique, they offer names at the stick. You're never gonna fit in much, kid. But if you're troubled and hurt, what you've got under your shirt will make them pay for the things that they did. Mama, we're all go to hell. Mama, we all go to hell. Writing this letter and wishing you well. Mama, we all go to hell. When the mama, we're all gonna die. Mama, we're meant for the flies. And right now, the building will coffin your size. Mama, we're all gonna die. Really? To my legs into my lung. I kind of want to look at the lyrics right now. Mama, we all got writing this letter and wishing you well. Mama, we all go to hell. Mama, we're all gonna die. Mama, we're meant for the fly. Stop asking me questions, I hate to see you cry. Mama, we're all gonna die. When we go, don't blame us, yeah. We let the fires just bathe us, made us all so famous. I'll never let you go. When you go, don't my love. Let me do that. Na 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 na. More, give me more, give me more. I don't need him, but I sell what she got. Hey, you can add legs to the wall, the gas to the floor. Give me more, give me more, give me more. $10,000 dogs versus one ender dragon. The game's lagging, it's chugging at 3 frames a second, but the dogs just devour the ender dragon whole. There we go. A little bit closer now. No, I don't think the dogs will win. But do you mean no PTV? I do not know PTV. I haven't heard all of the songs. And when your heart starts beating, then you wonder when did you get what you deserve. The ending of your life, and you get to heaven. Deserve the end of your life. To the hospital bed. Did my honest observation survey this operation, found a complication. Your heart goes now you've got maybe just a week to that. That sounds amazing. Rest in peace, Technoblade. Well, they can. Well, they encourage your complete cooperation. Send you roses when they think you need to smile. The doctors and the nurses, they adore me, so that's really quite alarming. 'Cause I'm such an awful fool. I gave them blood, gallons of the stuff, more that they can drink, and it has never been enough, so give them blood. Because there is going to be a flood. A celebrated man amongst the galleys, could fix him proper with a bit of luck. Anyways. Cause your speech is think I must swallow you. But just a little more poison that was it God who choked in these situations? As soon as I left from here. Bye. Thank you for coming by. I hope you've enjoyed what you've experienced of stream today. If you could, please leave a review on your way out by the door. Thank you. Oh, I left a little survey on the back of your receipt for you to fill out, and if you you have a chance of winning my $20 gift certificate. I should put surveys in stream. I think it'd be funny. I know, economy, I'm rubbing off on you. Your roses when they think you need to smile. That's how the nurses they adore me, so really quite alarming. It's such an awful. Ballad. Ballad AF. At least the bad man Twitch doing now. He's such a bad guy. Such a bad man. That twitchy boy. Thank you for the follow, Willow Light. I know there's nothing I can say. Doing pretty well. How are you doing today? Welcome to the calm and chill morning stream. If you're here for the more energetic evening stream, just know that is in the evening, which is not now. I don't know why that felt so goofy for me to say. But if you like the calm and relaxing stream, you're in the right place. I need to think of more things to sing. Lords of Voltaire. Ah, yes. Let me quote Candide to you. Or should I rig the lottery? I don't remember if pumpkins need water, but I don't think they do. Voltaire. Good morning, Grim the Cheetah Lord. How are you doing this morning? Night, she calls me. My power over you grows stronger yet. Hey, my little gothic girl. Alright, you know what I'm gonna do. It's still coming. I'm still trying to get close to those notes. Still struggling to get them. They're just outside my reach. Say them strong. Good morning, not your Valentines. Oh, I was hoping you could be my Valentine, but I guess not. I can definitely hit the notes, but I hit them strained, and that's what the issue is. To hit them nicely, they need to not be strained. Good God, the morning voice. I mean, really, it's just my soft-spoken voice. My morning voice is a little bit lower. A little bit more gravelly. When I wake up right in the morning, I struggle to speak. It's such a difficult thing. Oh, good morning. Well, Valentine, we have 2 streams that we do every day. The morning stream is a more relaxed, ASMR-focused stream. And then in the evening at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we do a more chaotic, high-energy stream. I know it can be a bit shocking. I'm halfway considering making 2 different streams. Yes, Mountain Time, MST. So right now, for instance, it is 5:15 a.m. Oh, very cool. Mm-hmm. You're not the only one. We have a few locals. Transplants, like me. Mm. Mm. They're gonna clean up your lungs with all the lies in the books, citizen out of you. 'Cause they sleep with a gun and keep an eye on your son. They can watch all the things you do. 'Cause the drugs never work, they're gonna give you a smack. Methods of keeping you clean. They're gonna rip off your heads, your aspirations to shreds. Another cog in the murder machine. Say now, teenagers get living shit out of me. They can care less as long as someone will bleed. So darken your clothes or strike a violent bones and leave you alone, but not me. The drum, the boys and girls in the clique, they offer names at the stick. I'm never gonna fit in much, kid. But if you're troubled and hurt, what you've got under your shirt will make them pay for the things that they did. Twice a day, every day. I just posted one about it. Also, this one's for you, Kamiya. We're streaming every day for 365 days. And then we might keep going. I kind of want to beat Co Carnage's record. Co hit, I think, about 4 years. What song is it? Help me, I'm broke about my insides. Help me, I've got no soul to sell. Don't do that, God, me. Help me, the only thing that works for me. La vaca, moo. 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 I'll fix it just for you, Kamiya. La vaca, moo. La vaca, Good morning, flower. That's not the right wood either. I'm trying to find better wood. I'm trying. But there's so little of the same tree here. The beautiful people, the beautiful people. It's all relative to the size of your steeple. You can see that from the trees. Don't shed on your knees. There's a time to assimilate every motherfucker that is in your way. Hey, you wanna be something beautiful, something free. Thank you for the work. The beautiful people, the beautiful people. It's all relative to the size of your steeple. That should be enough. Okay. I wake up at 3:30 a.m. every morning. And I go until 5:30 a.m. every morning. Which we're coming up on. Yeah, I work from home in the mornings. Don't even call me out like that, cuddly. I'm fixing it. I'm fixing it. Oh, chat, I've decided we're going to stream forever. I'm worried Vanya will cease existing. I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache. It's made of all the things I have to take. Jesus never wins and pushes its way inside. What if the pain goes on? I'm not gonna make it. There you go, Carmia. We good? We better? Are we happy? It even matches the local wood. I forgot to connect the raccoon cable. Oh no shit. Oh no shit, the raccoon cable. You unplugged. Wait, we're gonna plug it back in. Oh, some people here people are from all around the world. Okay, Silverback. La vaca, mo, la vaca, mo, la vaca, mo, la vaca, mo. That's my view. 2 hours streams. Thank you for the follow, Kento Danpao. I personally think, like I posted on TikTok, you want to end your streams while you still have energy. You're giving your viewers the best experience to the very end. And if you feel tired and worn out, then you're leaving them with a bad impression In my ideal world, I would end stream right at the end, right when I get my highest view count. Which would be funny if like stream just ended at my highest view count every time. It's like we get raided and suddenly, oh, stream ends. Bye, guys. Dude, I'm trying, Vanya. I'm trying so hard. If I could get rid of daylight savings, I would. Today is Friday. Shit. I haven't practiced the song I was supposed to practice today at all this week. Okay, so I'm going to be trying to learn it today and memorize it. I'm glad you found me as well. I'm happy anyone finds me. Give me a second. Give me a second. We, the congressmen of Tennessee, have decided to try to stop time. We've decided we don't want time anymore. We're just putting an end to it. We're going to pass a bill and we're going to make time stop. Only for Tennessee, though. We, the senators of Tennessee, believe we are above such small human concepts. Through the power of God and anime, we'll make time stop. We decide the only correct time is Tennessee time. We're actually going to make time stop for everybody else. We're going to create infinite suns so we all have the same time all the time. I'm sorry, did you get a death bloom? What the heck is this? I hate you. There's gotta be a way. I hate you from Tennessee because you look stupid. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. No, you ain't from Tennessee. You can move to Tennessee. You wouldn't be stupid then. You'd be the only smart one. Y'all ever seen Night Vale? Listen to Night Vale. It's kind of cool. I love it. Are you from Tennessee? Because, oh my God, why aren't you moving? Why is everything frozen around you? Fear. This is not going to be enough, is it? I thought, what's up? I'm such a good doggy. 7, 8, 9, 18, 30 something. Oh, the one where the guy, that one was really interesting. Where like they constantly praise the guy all the time. It's like, and we don't know what he was saying, but the way his hair was perfectly styled and anything he said was just so intelligent, so we knew it had to be true. Meanwhile, the guy's panicking about some disaster, but everybody's just looking at how handsome he is. so good, so good. And nobody don't block me, I am so fresh and clean. Do you know how so I'm so fresh and clean. It gets weirder and better. Alright, chat, you know what time it is. Time for me to get a watch. We're gonna have to find something to raid into. Thank you for the bits. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. Really, really appreciate the bits. I promise to use them poorly. So you're always playing Pokemon. I'm sorry, Vanya. If I could stream forever, I would forever. Alright, we're gonna go raid Saura. Y'all be nice. I love you all so very much. I'm just gonna put you on the charger. And here we go, chat. Here's the raid message.
What the fuck am I looking at?
Y'all be good. Y'all are amazing.
Is that Korean?
Mwah. Y'all have a good day. Bye bye.